Over the past couple years, I have tested out lots of power stations, and I have to say, the Zendure SuperBase V is the best there is. Welcome to the Land of House YouTube channel. I'm Seth. Zendure just sent over the SuperBase V4600. This is a portable home battery. Inside of this is a lithium iron phosphate battery at 4608 watt hours. It has a 3800 watt AC output, but what's unique about this unit is that it has 240 volt AC output. That is the first of its kind, and I'm looking forward to hooking this up to my studio space and giving that a try. Let's do an unboxing real quick, and then we will dive into the features of this home battery backup system. Here we go. Let's see what's inside of this box. First thing, there is a lot of foam on here, which is very awesome. Look at that. It's over 2 inches thick to keep this thing protected. On the top is a box of cables. We'll check that out here in just a moment. Got the Zendure logo there on top of that. Let's go ahead and pull this free. Look at that. Looks like there's a little bit of scratching from where that box was sliding back and forth. I think it's worth taking a moment to look at the packaging of this. The foam all the way around is about 2 inches thick, and those handles are even built into that foam for extra carrying ability here. Very nice. Looks like the handle also came loose a little bit there during the shipping, but no damage whatsoever. Very cool. I like this already. Let's go ahead and pull it out of the foam and see what it looks like whenever it is free. Now keep in mind, this power station weighs over 140 pounds, so whenever you pick it up, make sure you be very careful not to hurt your back. So I'm going to see if I can't just easily step this out of the foam. There are two very nice handles on the side, so probably worth doing this with 2 people, but let's see what we can do here. I'm just gonna step it on out and hopefully be able to get this moved out of the way. Luckily those wheels are nice and big. I can roll this out of the foam. Underneath the power station there were a few more things. Looks like we have some more cables inside of this little pouch. And then this right here, let's see what that is. Looks like a couple of caster wheels. Interesting. We'll have to see what these are all about. Let's take a tour around the SuperBase V. So on this side right here, first you'll notice there are 2 large cooling fans that will allow airflow if this unit is producing a lot of power. Over here is a DC output. If I open up this little drawer, I can see an Anderson plug, a car port, a couple of barrel plugs, an on-off button, and then we'll have to see what the Ethernet cable is down here. That may be communication between the battery. I'm not exactly sure yet. Over here, you've got the SuperBase logo, and then these nice rubberized wheels down here, which I have been rolling this around for a few minutes, and it has worked out quite well. So down here, we have got some caster wheels with locks on them, and that has been nice already to keep this unit up on my little work table here. Moving up here to the top, there are some rubber strips which you can remove, and this allows for the satellite battery to fit on top of this. Otherwise, you keep those up there for keeping stuff from falling into those cracks. Moving on to the business end of the Zendure SuperBase V, there is a handle up top here which allows you to easily roll this unit around without having to pick it up. It weighs 140 pounds, so I wouldn't carry this for long. Speaking of picking it up, there are really deep, nice handles here on the front. You can get 2 hands on both sides if you needed to, if you have to carry this with a friend. I managed to pick this up onto my work table, but I don't recommend that because it is quite heavy. There are LED strips on the side, on both sides. There is a nice big display right here in the front. You've got your power button, AC, Wi-Fi, LEDs on. You've got USB, it's type A right there. some USB Type C's, 100 watt and 20 watt. If I open up here, I have a 240 volt plug, which will do 16 amps max. And then you've got your 120 volt 30 amp plug for an RV camper down there. Moving on over here, you've got your AC outlets. Now, these are 120 volts, 15 amp, but they are out of phase, so you can have 240 volts up here or down here, whichever you plug into. So, very nice. Looking forward to using that. This side is very similar to the other. It has your cooling vents and it has the Zendure logo there in the middle. On the back end of the Zendure, it's got another nice big carrying handle, which does have a lip up underneath to allow you to firmly grab onto the unit. Here is an AC input. If I open that up, you can see it has a typical computer style plug right there. You can do fast charging if this is turned upwards, or slow charging or custom if it is down. And then it's got a fuse here in case you put too much amperage through this plug. Moving over here is the Zen charge. You can see right there, it's the Zen T2 port, and then there's also a fuse right there. Moving down here is the DC input. So you've got your battery port right here, which would go up to the satellite battery if you had one of those. And then over here is where you will do your charging for DC on this side. Now this right here should have some cables in it for us to be able to charge through solar and through AC, I would imagine. Let's open this up. All right, looks like it includes the AC cable right here, which is very good. And then it has the DC cable for going to your car or RV. Sadly, no way to charge this through solar. I may have to go through my equipment here and see if I can't find a way to charge this through my solar panels. So let's turn this on for the first time and see what the display shows. Some pretty cool LED work there. 50% charge on the battery from shipping. Output 0, input 0. 24 hours left just sitting here doing nothing. So I can turn off the LED. There we go, that turned off. Now it is looking for Wi-Fi and Bluetooth up here. I can turn those off so it's no longer doing that. I can turn on the AC right here. Alright, just heard a click, which means it's on. Let's see, 1.2, 1.4 days at that right there. So it's turned on both the Zen port and the AC right here. So both of these should be on. And I can go ahead and turn that off. For the sake of seeing some output on the display, let's go ahead and plug up this little heater. Got that in there. Let me turn this on to the setting number 1, and that'll kick on pretty good. There we go. 636 or so watts on that output. It says it'll run that at 3.2 hours at 50%. That's incredible. Alright, let's go ahead and kick this up to setting number 2. Almost 1,000 watts. It'll run that for 2.1 hours. Now this should be over 1,400 watts for the full setting here. Yep, 1,500 watts. It'll run that for 1.3 hours at 50% battery. That's great. That's awesome. Now I've got the AC plug here. Let's go ahead and turn the unit off. Okay, it's off. And I want to see if when power is plugged up, if it will turn itself on. Now because my studio space is off-grid, I'm going to turn on the slow charge, which indicates 400 watts by default. So that'll be perfect here out in my studio space. If I lift this up right here, you can see a switch, and then if I push that down, it's now into the slow charge. It says slow charge or custom right down here. I like this feature because if you're like me and you're off-grid, then it's nice to be able to not pull 1,800 watts whenever you plug this up. So let's go ahead and get this power cord plugged up in here, and then move this down here to the outlet. Let's see what happens if it's plugged up without turning the unit on. Okay, cool. It has automatically turned the system on. And let's see, we got 700 watts. So we may want to drop that down just a little bit for the sake of my off-grid inverter. I am seeing at that current wattage, it'll be charged up fully in 3.8 hours. The battery in the SuperBase V is now fully charged and ready for our discharge test. To do this, I'm going to be using a small heater, as you can see over here. I've also got a power monitoring device, which we will plug up. And then I'm also going to be timing this with my cell phone. So let's go ahead and begin this discharge test. The purpose of this test is to see if the battery is going to hold up to the specs that are given us. So I'm going to plug this up, turn the unit on. I like these lights, that's really fun. Okay, let's make sure our AC output is turned on. There we go, it is now on. So I'm going to go ahead and first of all do a reset on my meter. There we go. And I will plug the small heater up right here. Now I know this output is 3600 watts, so we'll have no problems running this 1400 watt load. Turn this on, push my start. Okay, so we have our timer going. Now I'm also seeing that it is 1500 watts here on the display. Let me get in here and see what this says. 122.5 volts. So here we've got 1491 versus the 1500 up here. So let's go ahead and use both numbers and see what the time would be at these rates here. So this battery is a 4600 watt hour. So what I'm going to do is say 0.8, that's the percentage that we're going to be using, times the battery, 4600, is 3680. We're going to divide this number by our 1530. Should run this for 2.4 hours. But if we also use this value, the 1493, so 0.8 times 4600 divided by 1490 is 2.47. So anyway, just under 2.5 hours is what we should see on this battery discharge. We can see it's at 98% and our time actually gives us 2.6 hours. So a little bit more right there. All right, well, let's come back in a little while and see how well this discharge test is performing. The time has now been 1.5 hours and we are still running pretty consistent at the 1530 mark here. Time left for this is 1.1 hours, 43%. And so I'll be back again here in just a bit to check on this. It's now been 2.5 hours. Let's go ahead and see what this says. So you'll notice that the screen does go dark after a while. We've got 4% left, and it says 7 minutes. Starting to beep a little bit. All right, we're getting close to the end here. According to this, we've used 3.86 kilowatt hours so far. 2 hours and 40 minutes, 1% left, 1 minute left, and I'm happy to see that full power is still being given to the AC output, even with this 1% left here on the battery. We are hitting right at 4 kilowatt hours, which means we are actually running this at greater than 85%. The math that I did earlier was for 80%, and so yeah, I'm impressed with it. It's doing quite well. 0 minutes left, still at 1%. Let's see where it's going to cut out here. All right, there we go. Our time is 2 hours and 41 minutes for that to turn off. The discharge test of the SuperBase V worked out remarkably well, running at about 85%, which is far better than your average power station. So I'm impressed with the battery and the inverter of this unit. 2 thumbs up. For the past 2 weeks, I've been using the Zendure to power my studio lights. I've had a circular saw, a router, a jigsaw, and several other tools that I've been using to build my studio space here. And it has been so nice to just roll this up, plug up a tool, and get to work. But this kind of power station is designed to be able to power the majority of your home. And so I want to demonstrate now the use of a cable into a transfer switch so I can turn off the grid, which would simulate a power outage and then use just this to power everything here in the studio space. So let's go ahead and hook up the Zendure SuperBase V into a transfer switch. Right here on the front of the power station, there is a 30 amp receptacle, and that will accept one of these big plugs right here. So I can plug this up. All right. The other end of this cable goes up here into the transfer switch, just like that. Let's go ahead and turn on the Zendure. Power is now available at this plug. One of my studio lights is off grid, so we won't be totally in the dark here. I'm going to go ahead and start turning these to the off position, and it will start killing the power from the grid into this here. All right, so all the grid power is off. When I start flipping these on, my studio lights will begin to come back on. There we go. The whole studio is now being run off grid. Taking a look at the Zendure display, we've got 243 watts being consumed here off the grid. Let's flip on this light real quick. That light pulls a lot of power, so now we're running right around 400 watts here on the Zendure. This power station does have a pure sine wave inverter, but to test that, I've got this 200 to 250 watt LED panel, and it's very sensitive to pure sine wave versus modified sine. It will flicker if it's not a pure sine wave. So let's go ahead and turn on the power station here, and then turn on the AC output. There we go. Plug this light up, and looks like it has a very clear non-flickering output. So that is a good way to determine whether or not this is pure sine wave. So very nice. Now we've seen that the AC output is doing quite well. Let's move over and test out some of the DC circuits. So over here on the side is the little drawer that opens up, and we're able to plug up a car port there. So get that plugged in. In order to turn on or off the DC, you press this little black button right down here, and the DC icon will show up here on the display. About 86 watts on that, so definitely seems to be working. Now if I plug up one of the USBs here, I can test out a cell phone charge. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. Comes on immediately and shows that it is charging up this cell phone. With the DC ports here on the front, there's no button to press to turn those on. They're just automatically on. Now the LED panels on the front of the unit aren't super bright, but they are enough that you have a nice glow that you could read by if you needed to, or just in an emergency situation. And of course you can turn those off if you need to. That concludes the basic overview of the Zendure SuperBase V. This power station is packed full of features and is quite impressive if you ask me. I've tested over 50 power stations, and this one, top notch. I'm really enjoying this thing. So definitely check out the link in the description down below so you can get more information on this. Now there are plenty of features that I have not covered yet, and I intend on doing that in a future update video. Zendure did not send me the solar connection cable, so I did not test out solar charging, but it can charge with up to 3,000 watts. And so I'll have to make my own cable to go from the XT90 to MC4 cable, and we will do some more testing with solar input. I'm thinking a unit of this size with a 4,000 watt hour battery and a 3,600 watt AC output, I could hook it up to my off-grid system here in my studio space with 3,000 watts of solar coming in and run my whole shop off of this, no problem whatsoever. Most of the applications I have are definitely under 3,600 watts. As far as your home goes and how much stuff you could run off of this, a refrigerator is typically going to start up at about 700 watts. Your washing machine, as long as your well water is working as well, is about 1,200 watts. Well pump, also about 1,200 watts, depending on the size. So you're able to run dishwasher, refrigerator, well pump, your washing machine, and a host of things. Toasters, microwave. So maybe not all at once, but this thing will definitely power those if you're using them individually or keeping track of how many watts you're consuming. So this is definitely a whole house backup system. If you had 2 of these, you could really power pretty much your entire home, even possibly a clothes dryer. So very impressive. Definitely check out the links below to see more information on this unit, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.